Hello and welcome to Goodnight Faithful Friends. This is episode 4 and I am your host Josh, and this is a podcast about the Weeping Cedars universe and everything that is in it. This is an interview episode, so if you're looking for a Q&A episode, you can go to the episode before this, and hopefully by the time you're listening to this, maybe in the future, there will be an episode after this. The wonderful person that I'm interviewing in today's episode is Reneé Vito, who played Alex Carmichael on Wrought of Amber. She is an amazing person. I love her so much. She's super talented, super friendly, super engaging, and just one of the best people that I've worked with. And so we range in topics all over, from music to acting to art to improv to roleplay games. So yeah, this is a fun interview, and you can check that out. Right afterwards, I will be giving you my very brief take on the movie The Testament of Anne Lee, which I just watched last night. It's kind of a horror film, kind of not. It's a little bit of like the OA meets the religious history meets the folk horror, I guess. And there's a little bit of each. There's also a lot of like painterly visuals in it, a lot of, like time appropriate dark framing, and so a lot of cool stuff in it. Also some interesting historical stuff and some non-historical stuff. But I think for Weeping Cedars fans, maybe the most interesting piece will be this sort of time period and impetus that's going on at the same time. Weeping Cedars mentions Swedenborg. Anne Lee is cotemporous with Swedenborg in a lot of ways. I mean, I think they die about 2 years apart from each other. Both of them found historical religious movements, each with different amounts of sort of influence, but it is all part of that sort of same historical sweep of new religions and new revelations that Weeping Cedars taps into, especially around the Pride. So I'll give my thoughts about that at the end. Before we get into the interview, though, I want to say, if you are a Weeping Cedars fan and you like Weeping Cedars merch, right now there is a survey out that I would really like you to take. It is about enamel pins. I have made up 4 mock-ups of enamel pins, working with a company that does pins. And it would be great if you could take the survey and say which are your favorites, how many you would want, whether or not the prices are good. The only thing I will say is that I have reached out to them to ask about tariffs because the pins are being shipped over. So I don't know how that will affect the prices. If it's 10%, it won't really affect things very much at all. Maybe a quarter, like 25 cents per order. Maybe not at all. Depends on what the actual tariffs are. So yeah, if you could take those surveys, there is a link to the survey posted on the Discord. There's a link to the survey posted on Reddit. And there is a free post on Patreon that you can also access. So all of the feedback would be wonderful. It will really help me figure out which pins I should order. Should I order all 4? Should I only order a couple of them? How many I should order? Because the margins on them are pretty slim. So I have to be very careful about kind of where we spend the money on that stuff, because there isn't like a lot of money to be spent on merch. So kind of knowing that there is some amount of people that are interested can be really helpful. So yeah, go check out that survey. Also, hey, go check out the books Lightning Falls and Shards of Amber. As I said last week, the plea from the depths for more reviews doesn't really help, and it hasn't. The reviews are all exactly the same as they were 2 weeks ago. But if you find it in your heart to review the books, that would be great on Goodreads or Amazon or either audio platform, Spotify, Audible, the Kindle store. That'd be fantastic, and I would appreciate it. And then one last thing before the interview, next episode will be a Q&A episode, so please get those questions in. You can either send them to me at contact@weepingcedars.com. You can put them in the comments to this post, wherever you see this post, whether it's on Reddit. You can even respond on Spotify. You can ask on the Discord, even on Tumblr. You can ask really kind of anywhere. And I will try to accumulate those and answer them. There is one question I forgot to get to last week, which is reading order. and I will do my best to get to that next time. So, without further ado, let's get to the interview with Reneé. I am here. Here we go. This is the intro to end all intros because I have been so concerned about how to say your name because I've known you by different names and introduced you so many times in different things that I got the first intro wrong. So I am here with Reneé Vito, who played Alex Carmichael in Wrought of Amber and did the audiobook of Shards of Amber. How are you? I'm going to put quotes, air quotes around this, Reneé.
Yeah, I'm Renee's fake. It's just Bliss. I'm doing well. It's so nice to see you. It's been a long time, it feels like.
It has been a long time. It is. I was talking to Chris, who Weeping Cedars fans may or may not know as Nate from the prequel, and then the guy who calls in season 3, about the fact that it's now been a year since
Mm,
we stopped
wow.
our Monday streams, uh, and
Wow.
and ended like 4 years of
Ah,
RPG streaming that we were
yeah.
doing on Monday and Tuesday
Jeez.
nights. Yeah, it was.
It's been a year. It feels both longer and shorter at the same time. It's crazy.
Yes, that is. I have a firm belief. I saw somebody talking about the fact that like we don't talk about the pandemic, like nobody talks about
Oh
the
my God.
pandemic,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
it's
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I remember that. What the hell?
yeah, just
And
this
then,
big
and then
thing
you're
that
like,
happened.
wait, that big thing that happened where your life went small, big, small, and then we just forgot about it. Like everything's normal.
And I had great like grandparents, but mostly like great grandparents who lived through the Depression,
Mm,
and like great uncles and aunts who lived through the Depression, and everybody from that time, they seem to have this frugality, right? Like they
mm,
had this like sense of like, well, you need to scrimp, you need to save, you don't throw things away because you
mm,
might need to keep it. And so it's a sort of like artifact of the Depression for them. And I have this
mm,
sense, and maybe I'm wrong, but I have this sense that everybody who was like a conscious, living, thinking person during the pandemic, that time is wrong for them. Like
mm-hmm.
time is screwed up.
Yeah,
And
100%.
that like that's our artifact, is that our
Mm.
temporal perception is really weird now.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was thinking about this the other day, I don't know if there's any way that that could be rectified
Right.
because we essentially lost a year of our lives, and we're kind of playing catch up constantly, but then it's like, no, it's just now.
It's just now.
This is
Yeah.
this is it now. But no, I didn't think about it in those terms, but yeah, we that is our time is our artifact
Time
now.
is our artifact of, yeah, it's a very, very strange thing. And it's also a very strange thing to think about how long, especially when you've mostly known people
Hmm.
not in person, right?
Yeah.
Like how long you've known somebody.
Hmm.
And I'm not really sure how long. I'm sure we can look up emails, but like
Right. Yeah.
I we have to have known each other for like 5
Hmm.
years now.
Think so.
Like
When you said 4, I think it must be at least 5 because I was doing um I was doing something with you before. With Apon. I was doing something with you
yes.
before Worst Days, and so it must be at least 5 years because I think in my brain that's how I feel that how long
Right,
I
yeah.
feel we've known each other.
And we finally met in person
Hmm.
a year and a half ago or so for
Right.
like 5 hours.
Literally, yeah, just
Yeah.
hours, which is crazy. Just condensed a lot of hanging out in those
Yeah,
5 hours.
exactly. And I'm gonna be interviewing somebody relatively soon who
Mhm.
I've known for over a decade but have never met in person because she worked on my first audio drama. and
Oh,
we've done a
wow.
bunch of stuff together, and she was technically in Weeping Cedars. She was, like,
Mm.
in for, like, 1 episode, a few lines, so I was like, "Alright, well, I just need an excuse to talk to Shannon."
Yeah.
So, like,
Really
so
is. We just ask our friends to work
right,
together so I can actually talk
exactly,
to you.
exactly, right, like, if I could do there I have a little cluster of people that I'm
Mm,
like, if I'm gonna do a project that involves people using their voices,
mm.
I always wanna work with them. Shannon's one of them, you are one of them,
Yeah.
um, Cassie is definitely one of them, like,
Mhm.
people that I just want and
Oh, I miss Cassie.
I know, I wanna put Cassie on the show once I've gotten through all the actors who have been in Weeping
Mhm.
Cedars,
Makes sense.
um
Oh my god.
because
Okay.
our friend Cassie Byrne is a writer, and she does horror and fantasy, and so I would love to pick her brain about some of that stuff.
Mhm.
But before we get to the people who have not been on the show, we are talking to the people who have been on the show, and I am what I want to do is kind of introduce the audience to the performers who did this. And so outside of their work with Weeping Cedars and with the work that you and I have done together outside of that, I want to know how you got started because there's a whole lot of we were talking beforehand, there's a whole lot of stuff I don't know about how you got into being an artist, like
Mm.
overall artist, because you do multiple forms of art.
Mhm.
And so like talk to me about the beginnings. Like what's the baby Renee origin story?
I was thinking about this again, just like reflecting on I realize I talk to myself a lot. I think and that's also a symptom of when I was younger, I talked to myself a lot. Like I would pretend I was in interviews and things like that.
Mhm, mhm.
And the first and most vivid memory of, if people have like, oh, my parents tell this one story about when I was younger and I would like sing a lot. Like my one story is I remember being in kindergarten and the girls were doing choreography to a Britney Spears song.
Sure, sure.
Sure. And
Kindergarten. That's
right,
yep, that makes
exactly, very
ooh,
appropriate.
oof. I mean, I'm just thinking about I'm like when I heard Britney Spears, I was in college. So like
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah, that was, I think it was, Oops, I Did It Again. So whenever whenever that
Yup,
was
yeah, you were a kindergarten and I'm like a freshman in college.
Well, I mean, it probably more appropriate if I was a freshman in college. I
Yeah,
don't know
definitely.
why that was the
Absolutely.
song, but, I we were doing choreography. I don't know what kind of choreography. I'm sure it was like a step to step, like a side
Uh-huh.
step and a turn. And I remember my mom picking me up from kindergarten that day, and the teacher was like expressing how impressed she was that I was on like beat and I had rhythm and I was expressive and she was
Uh-huh.
just really excited about it um and my mom was like, "Oh yeah, she sings a lot in the house and da 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 da." Um but other than that, I don't really remember a moment where I like locked in and was like, "Oh, I want to be a performer. I want to be an
Okay.
artist." Like I don't really remember that. I was always and I'm sure me being like an only child and not having siblings around to talk
Uh-huh.
to
Mhm.
was a big symptom of me yeah, just talking to myself a lot. I pretended to be a lot of characters, I
Sure.
when I was running around with other kids, I was always like, let's play characters. Um and yeah, I don't know. Oh my god, okay. On the radio, I we there were ads for the kids that don't know what radio is.
I think
That
our
was a place
audience
where
definitely skews a little older, so I think they
thank God. It was an ad on the radio that was like, "Oh, does your kid love Disney Channel? Does your kid want to be a star on Disney Channel?"
Uh-huh.
And I did one of those programs where I got headshots and I took acting lessons, and
Oh,
that was
wow.
my yeah, that was my first step that I can remember into um the world of like auditioning and
Hmm.
being trained and going to shows and doing shows. I think I must have been 10 or 11 at that time.
Do you still have your 10-year-old headshots?
I think my mother does, and I can
Uh-huh.
remember it clearly because it was pre-braces, and
Okay.
I had a tooth that was, like, way out of line,
Oh,
so it was just, like,
the
me
funky tooth,
smiling.
yeah.
Yep, 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 I did have one of those before my braces, and and then from there, my parents were really locked my parents were the one that locked in, and they were like, "Oh, she's got something," and so after
Interesting.
I left right after I left, that, like, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it, like, child acting school,
Sure.
they enrolled me in School of Rock. I'm sure I've
Oh,
have mentioned this to you at some point.
I
School of
don't
Rock is
I
a
don't
thing.
I don't know that I've ever known that you were in School of Rock.
Oh my god, it's probably because this is the story when people ask me at the bar to talk about
I see,
myself.
uh-huh.
The story where I go, "Do you know that movie School of Rock?" It's like a real thing. And I was there until I was 18. I was at School of Rock in New Jersey.
Huh,
That's where I really learned, like, how to sing and perform and play guitar, and it's where I met a lot of core friends that
right.
are absolutely killing it right now. Shouts out everybody. But that was where I really, like, developed my performance skills and learned about, like, Led Zeppelin
Oh,
and like
yeah, okay, good.
bands like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That was like my musical awakening.
Interesting,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, huh. So, were you did you see yourself at that point as primarily an actor or a singer?
That's a great question. I think that at that point I primarily saw myself as a singer. I didn't do a lot of my high school was a technical high school, and
Okay,
we didn't do, like, plays and things like that.
mhm.
It was mostly musicians that were in my high school that wanted to get together and do, like, shows.
Oh, okay.
Um yeah, so I did a lot of vocal performance in high school. Not a lot of plays or musicals. So a lot of that came senior year when you have to decide what you want to do in college, and
Mhm.
genuinely, and I think a lot of actors or creators this way have that moment where they're like, I don't know what else I want to do, so I'm just
Right.
gonna try for it in college. Um, and I sought out the acting teacher from the sister school and said, "Hey, I want to audition for a program in college. Can I, like, shadow you, and you can, like, help me work on monologues and things like that?" And that's really, like, the first instance outside of my childhood where I was, like, coming back into acting, and that's how I got back into
Interesting.
that. Mhm.
Huh. So how long was that between that and when you first came on with us doing like improv essentially?
At least a year or 2 out of college, I think,
Right.
because yeah, it must have been. But that's also crazy to think, like, to place those 2 together in my brain like that, because I feel like there was such a time after college where I
Okay.
wasn't doing things.
So we first connected on Backstage in
Mhm.
April of 2021.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't wanna scream into the
Right,
mic,
yeah.
but that would have been so much louder. Woo!
Yeah, so it's been
Oh my
actually as we're
gosh.
recording this, it's been almost exactly 5 years.
Holy crap. I don't know why I thought I knew you pre-COVID, but that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
so
no, even if you ask me what years COVID was, my brain doesn't fully
yeah.
really
Right, right.
know. Um,
Wow, I thought I at least had met you prior to the shutdown, at least. I don't know why my brain puts that together, but
yeah, they're
it
so
just feels long,
separated in
yeah.
my head that
Mhm.
like the things that we did with podcasts and online
Right.
were so disconnected from real life in
Mhm,
so many
mhm.
ways, that, like, it's very hard for me to put those timelines
Wow.
together. So you had about 4 years from between when you were like, "I wanna get back into
Mhm,
acting," before we met. So in
mhm.
those 4 years, what were you doing?
I was working retail. I was working
Okay.
retail. I had done some small projects for friends, or, like, readings and things like that, but I wasn't really acting. There and this is a story for another time, but I took a break because I thought I thought that I wanted to not be in I didn't think I wanted to be in the machine of I'm going to audition every day. I'm going
Sure.
to work towards a commercial career, I guess.
Mhm.
Um which is, in retrospect I'm like I really could have. I had the callbacks after my showcase and I really could have
Mhm.
gone for it, but I don't know. I just thought I wanted to take a break. And so I did retail for a while. I lived my life. I went out with friends. I did some festivals. Um and then after all of that, I it's always waves, I think for me it's
Uh-huh.
always waves of I want to be an actor and I want to go audition and I want to do this and that and the other thing, and then the other side of me which is like I don't have the stamina to do
Sure. Right.
that.
Right.
And I commend everyone that does. It's like it really it takes discipline for sure.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
was so the thing about like I think we're going through a kind of uh I mean, boy, this is not any sort of deep insight. Um but we are definitely going through this uh inflection point, revolutionary moment in art where I think there's going to be a big bifurcation. I think there's going to be this
Mm,
split where um, you have popular art, pop art is going to be either machine generated or machine guided, right? Like partnered
mm,
with people. These are the same people. I'm going to be talking about this on the podcast at some point before this interview comes out. So forgive me, listeners, if I'm repeating myself.
mm,
But I just saw about a month ago. I saw a trailer for a movie called Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and the
mhm,
teaser trailer for it, I was like, "What is this? This looks awesome."
mhm.
And then I watched the full trailer, and there were elements of it that I was like, "Okay, what's going on here?" And then I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
James Wan produced it. Great, great. This is now I'm maybe reticent about it." And
Yeah, yeah.
then it's about this girl who's been missing for several years.
Mhm.
She's been partially mummified, like, found with all these other dead kids, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And, like, the parents were like, "Something crazy's happening. There's an exorcism," whatever.
Uh-huh.
Grandma shows up. She starts doing Arabic exorcism, which I'm like, "Well, that's new. I haven't seen that in a movie before. That's
That is
good."
new.
Yeah, all right, good. That's
Uh-huh.
kudos to you guys for adding something new. But
Huh.
then the mummy girl, she's
Oh, no,
just
I'm
like
scared.
she, like, grabs grandma by the throat, and she's like, "It's okay, grandma. It's fun to be dead." And I'm like, "Fuck you."
Oh,
Like, this
no.
like, you ruined such a cool aesthetic with just this horrible
Oh,
writing.
no. Oh, my
Um,
goodness.
so I think that and this is my, I guess, my, um, snobbish view, I guess,
Mm, mhm.
is that the people who already write that, they're gonna be out of jobs because
Okay. I
ChatGPT
see.
can write just as well as
Right,
that.
right, right. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so they're gonna be the people who make that kind of art, and then they're gonna be the people who I think, um, are going to be largely indie makers,
Mhm,
and that's gonna be the other kind of art because everything is so democratized now. The ability to make your own video game, the ability to write your own movie and make your own movie, the ability to do audio drama, like all of those things. If you want to be creative, you
mhm.
can. If you have access
Yes.
to a phone and a laptop, you
Right.
can.
Mhm,
And there are very few boundaries. Now, obviously, if you're living in poverty, you can't afford those things. That is a boundary, right? But if
mm,
you have that middle class privilege and above,
right.
you can make art and you don't have to go in for auditions and
Mhm,
callbacks.
mhm.
Um, and I think, like, that's a good thing. I don't think the other thing's a good
Yeah.
thing, right? Like,
Okay.
I think, like, Hollywood and Broadway and all these places have had
Mhm.
sort of a stranglehold on creativity in
Yeah,
some ways.
yeah.
Publishing houses, all of
Mhm.
these things, and now all of this stuff is so accessible that if you want to be an artist, you can just be an
Right.
artist. That's different than
Mhm.
if you wanna make a living as an artist, right? Like,
Yes, it is different. Yep, yep.
and so you've been doing it. other than just acting though, because you're
Mhm.
in a band.
Mhm.
And so tell me about that, because that's just doing it, right? Like, because I guess
Hmm.
those are the people who have been doing, right? Painters have been always painting, writers have been
Yeah.
writing. Like, your
Mhm.
garage band has always been garage banding. So, like, as part of that, where you didn't have to go for callbacks, you made your own
Mhm.
thing. Talk to me about Head Hum.
Before I get onto head,
Okay.
it's really interesting. So, I want to add that. So in college, I didn't go for a BFA. My program was specifically in devised theater, which is
Interesting.
such a it's a very niche and new program, especially
Mhm.
when I enrolled at the time. And so that was geared towards, um, being in New York and being in a room with people and writing with that group of people and cooperating and then putting
Uh-huh.
it up on its feet and then just like doing it, like on-site theater or like site-specific theater and doing it that way. So I owe a lot to that program and where I learned like my improv skills and my
Mhm.
ability to just roll with things, right?
Right, right,
So even back then we were thinking about this, and so now it's interesting that you bring that up because people were doing it and continue to do it, but now it's just even more accessible than before, right? Like everyone
right.
knows that they have the tools that they can create with. So I mean to say that my degree now is useless, but it was definitely great for me to have instilled that within myself
Right,
like earlier on. And so in terms of Head Hum, which is my band that I have with my husband, we started writing things and recording things in quarantine. It was it was an awesome thing for us to realize that we did have the power to just record
right.
ourselves at home. Like we just wrote some parts and messed around with Studio One, and um I'm 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 lucky that my husband is good at like editing. He went like
Mhm.
had training for audio and things like that. So we were able to put something up on its feet and do it by ourselves. Of course I think that I like limitations because sometimes I have option paralysis or
Sure.
there are just so many ways and options with which you can take a song or, take a
Right.
show. And so limitations, like recording at home, I only have this guitar amp with this
Right,
microphone, right?
right.
Like so it was really great to be able to figure out what kind of sound we could have with just those tools. But yeah, and so in terms of Head Hum, like we recorded a lot of stuff and we played a lot of shows in 2024. We will be coming back. We had a
Nice,
bit of a
nice.
break last year.
Uh-huh. Hiatus,
Um
creative hiatus.
hiatus, creative
Yeah.
hiatus. And I think it was necessary, but it was also very you know what, Josh, I have to say it was very nice for me to have the creative outlet of doing Wrought of Amber in that time because
Oh, cool.
and Shards of Amber, yeah, because it was Joe wasn't able to play, so I at least had
Mhm.
my creative outlet,
Mhm.
in terms of making Alex come off the page and then reading shards. So that was really great for me. But yeah, Head Hum will be back. Nobody
Great.
fret. Fear
Also,
not.
shout out to Joe. Joe, I'm sure you're
Shout
gonna
out to
listen to
Joe.
this. Joe, love you. Um,
Love you, Joe.
um, yeah, it kind of leads into the question I want to get into. I don't know if I want to jump into it right away,
Mhm,
but this idea of making things in different ways, right?
mhm,
So, like, accessing that part of you that wants to be creative. Um
mhm,
and the idea of constraints, and I really love that. I think about when you think about so there's this book.
yeah.
It's funny, I talk about this, I usually talk about this in like uh situations where people ask about my views on kink.
Okay.
And I will very, like, every, like a nerd, I will always bring up this guy named Huizinga, who wrote this
Mm,
book called Homo Ludens, which is
mhm,
an anthropological study of humans as people who play.
Mm.
And Huizinga has this, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, but he has this theory called the magic circle. And the magic circle is the place in which we're allowed to play.
Mm.
And when people are like, "What is it about kink or whatever?" And I'm just like, "Look, I think this is how you have to think about it." But it's also true about art. And the concept of the magic circle is everything is permitted inside of the circle, or not everything,
Mm.
but things that would not be allowed outside of the circle are allowed
Mm.
inside the circle. So if you're playing
Okay.
cops and robbers, I'm allowed to shoot you. You're allowed to shoot me. Be
Mhm.
really bad if we did that outside the circle,
Yeah.
right? Like, and when you get into something like kink, then you can say horrible things, or
Mhm.
change roles, all sorts of things. But
Mhm.
but there's a hard line, right?
Right,
You
right.
don't do that. Baseball, inside the circle, very weird things happen. We touch each other with gloves, and somehow that
Yeah.
means something, right? Like,
Mm,
and
mhm,
if you
mhm.
have a ball in
Right.
the glove, that means something, and if you don't, that means something
Mm.
else,
Mhm.
right? So, but they don't mean those things outside of the circle.
Right, interesting.
And so I creativity for me is a kind of play.
Hmm.
And when I don't have limits, when there's no constraint, the play becomes uninteresting in a lot of
Hmm.
ways.
Mhm.
And I find this actually with video games too. If I just turn on God mode cheat codes,
Mhm.
the game loses interest.
Yeah, yeah. I get that.
And so we've talked in the past about the possibility, like there are a lot of like maybe projects, could have been projects
Mhm.
um podcasts that we sort of started and then schedules just didn't work out.
Mhm.
Multiple like improv things
Yes.
that started and then didn't work out.
Mhm.
Uh but some of the conversations we've had around that have been about you making music in the constraints of
Mhm.
things. So we were doing there was a cyberpunk podcast we were going to be doing
Yeah,
there for
I
a
was
little
just thinking
while.
about that. Mhm.
And I was like, wouldn't it be cool for cyberpunk music? And you were like, yes,
Yeah.
I love this
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
So does that, like, do you find that constraint, or like saying like I'm going to mark out this
Mhm.
area that I get to work in, do you find that helpful to creativity?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously there are, I'm sure, when the inspiration strikes and you can, and then and the freedom of being able to take it anywhere is great, but I think for me personally, I think I need that because otherwise I need to be working towards a sound or a feeling or a goal, right? Like I can't just like sit here and because I would sit here and be thinking for days, right?
Right,
This note can go with that note, and et cetera, et
right,
cetera, et cetera, and so on and so on. So, I like constraints or limitations because it means that I'm trying to catch a feeling or a sentiment or and just going in that direction. Um, I think that if I didn't have limitations, it would take so much longer to finalize. And nothing's ever done, sure, but it would take me so much longer to land on um, a shape, right?
right,
I like being able to color inside the lines, and then if it allows, or if again the inspiration strikes, then you can go color
right,
outside the lines.
right,
But I like being able to have the shape of it, and then filling it in that way, because otherwise you can write about anything, you could sing about anything, you can make a story about anything. And yeah, I think it's like similar to, or maybe in, when you think like when you think about writing something, you have like a point and a point, right? I actually don't know how you write.
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever
it's
asked you about
really
this.
funny, yeah. So because I largely, so I write basically 2 things, right? Like, I
Mm,
write inside the Weeping Cedars universe, and then
mhm,
I write short stories that are not
mm,
inside the Weeping Cedars universe. And when I write short stories, they sprawl a little bit, such that
mm.
they're often too long to be submitted to journals, right? Like
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
they range around 10,000 words, where
Mhm,
people like 6,000 words.
mm.
And so I'm
Interesting.
going to be putting a collection of those together at some point. That's
Mm,
not the point. But in Weeping Cedars, I am constrained by two things, and the longer I go, the more I'm constrained by the second thing.
Hmm.
So the first
Interesting.
thing is the integrity of the story. The
Hmm.
story has to. There's a feeling I get, and I would assume this is true. I've never really heard anybody else talk about it this way,
Hmm.
but there's a feeling I get when I write something where it feels obviously wrong or it feels obviously right.
Hmm.
And it's like putting, I would imagine it's like putting lyrics together, or it's like with music, and something all of a sudden you're just like, oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
right way to go with this.
Right. Hmm.
It just,
I know that.
I
Hmm.
hear it and I go like, right, that's what music sounds like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And that's how I feel with characters and story, is that
Hmm.
you keep trying things, and then eventually you bend the thing a certain way, and you go, "Oh, there it is. That's what it's
Hmm.
supposed to look like."
Hmm.
Um and that's because I sort of have, to some degree, the this archaeological view of storytelling, which is like, I'm not making up a story, I'm digging one up. Like, the
Hmm.
story
That's
exists.
interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And like, there are only so many stories, and so I sort of elaborate Stephen King's theory about storytelling, which is like,
Hmm.
where stories exist, we're finding them. And
Fun. I love that.
I tend to take more like maybe a paleontologist view of it, which is like, there are only so many species of stories out there.
Hmm.
So my Tyrannosaurus Rex is going to look like somebody else's Tyrannosaurus Rex, but
Hmm.
it's mine. I'm
Hmm.
excavating this,
Hmm.
and maybe the story I found isn't complete. Maybe I fucked up the digging it up part.
Hmm.
But that story is there, and I'm discovering it, and then I'm giving it to somebody else to look at.
Huh.
And so the longer I go and the
Uh-huh.
more of this dinosaur I dig up, the more I'm constrained by what I've already dug up.
Hmm. I see. Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So like, I have to, so first is the integrity and second is consistency.
Hmm.
Um and so sometimes I have these really wonderful moments where uh so for reasons I'll never go into in public because of just discussions that have happened in the background.
Hmm.
Um I'm writing the book Drowned right now, which is a retelling of the prequel stuff. And I
Hmm.
am taking one of the characters and just completely rewriting them. They're in fact so it's, I mean, it's going to be really obvious who it is. It's this
Uh-huh.
character Joe. Um
Hmm.
so much to the point that his name isn't even Joe anymore. People
Oh wow.
call him Joe.
Uh-huh.
His middle name's Joseph, but like, he's a junior. His dad has the same name. His
Hmm.
grandfather had a very similar name, so they just call him by his middle name. So he's Joe.
Okay.
But like, the freedom to write this person out of nowhere and
Hmm.
then be constrained by everything that's already been said about him
Right.
means that I can't
Interesting.
just, he's not just anybody. He's somebody who
Right.
has a history.
Mm-hmm.
And that forces me to be creative um in a way that often bears really interesting fruit.
Hmm.
Um in the way that I would assume, right? So like, I'm writing The Hum of Glory right now on the side, which
Hmm.
is a collection of short stories that goes along with Samite, the way that Shards of
Oh,
Amber goes with Wrought of
yeah.
Amber. Um and in that, I have a constraint, right? Like, this is the topic. There are only so many things to write about it.
Hmm.
I'm curious if that's like, when you imagine doing, I don't think you've done one before.
Hmm.
Maybe I've mistaken what I've listened to from Headhum. But have you ever
Hmm.
done a concept album?
Oh my God, no, but I would love to. That sounds so fun. I think we've thought about it. A lot of okay, so a lot of the songs that we have out now, they are concerned. They have to do with like heroines, like female characters that
Uh-huh.
I've written about. Um, or just taken, so like, I think I've mentioned to you previously, we have a song out called Priss. It's based off of one of the characters in Blade Runner.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I we had thought about doing a concept album of just like female characters and like their
Mhm.
strife. Um but no, we've not like seriously thought about
You
it, but
guys
I
should
would love
just
to
do a
do
Blade
that. We
Runner
honestly, we
album.
love that. That sounds so and I was just thinking that it's time to rewatch that movie.
Dude, just a song called "Off the Shoulder of Orion." Like, I
Tears falling. Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be great.
exactly. Yeah, "Tears in the
Um,
Rain." Yeah. Somebody's
I'm gonna bring it
absolutely
up to Joe
used
right now.
that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think I've heard a song and I can't think about it now, but there is a song with that line sampled in it, and I
Mhm.
think Joe and I heard it at a show once, and we went, "Play it on it." But as a if for a concept out, I think that would be so fun for us because that means that the world is there. I was thinking about it in terms of reading Alex, right, and like
Mhm.
bringing Alex to life because the her shape was there. You had made her shape, but it was fun for me to fill in that. So that
Yes.
in terms of like constraints, I was constrained by the world that you already had, and but in that, I was able to just yeah, color her in. It was a really fun thing for me to do. I was thinking about how I didn't you had asked me if I wanted to read the whole series
Right.
in one
Right.
go, and I had
Right.
told you that I didn't want to do that because I wanted to come to each season with Alex's eyes. And I wonder if my magic circle, like, I wonder how my magic circle would have changed if I had read the whole thing as
Right.
opposed to just reading every season. I really like that concept though. I think that I super agree with that. There's things you can do when you're playing. I've worn some ridiculous outfits on stage that would not apply real life. But yeah, yeah. Concept album. I will definitely bring that back to Joe.
I love the idea, and I'm not inserting myself into this, but
Mm,
I'm like, I love the idea with working with a band and being like, okay, we're going to tell a story in a
mhm.
world, and we'll co-write it all together, and like co-author the story, like, uh,
Wee.
and I love that idea because one of my favorite things,
Mm.
so I hate editing audio. It's my least. I hate it so
Shock.
much. Um, and
Sincerely shock.
it's why like I'm so reticent to do more audiobooks. I need to, but
Mm.
like uh I'll never do two at once. That
Yeah.
was
Oh
I
my
was
god. I
so
can't even imagine. I
oh my
cannot
gosh.
even imagine.
Um I
I
forget
probably apologized to you so many times. You've heard my voice so much. It's crazy.
I
And
I
Quinn's voice way more.
I love your voice. That's good. So like if there is somebody who I worked with relatively recently who had
Mm.
a very wet mouth and
Oh, I tried. I really did. I was like, "Oh my god, please let me not do this to Josh."
and I actually found a set of tools. I might even shout them out in the show notes or whatever. It
Mm,
was like a $20 a month subscription, and boy did it help. Oh my gosh, did it
awesome.
it really
Awesome.
really help with that. But so I don't love the audio editing. It's the part that I dread the most, right? Like if I
Mm.
ever was to do
Well,
another long form podcast, I would have to have an audio editor.
okay.
Um but one of my favorite things and one of the most amazing things about getting into writing the way that I did, right? Because I
Mm,
started writing very early on. I wrote a novel in high school. It was
mhm,
bad. I wrote a novel during my PhD. It wasn't as bad. And in between, I wrote a bunch of stories, sort of started and stopped stories and all
mhm,
sorts of things. But when I finally sat down and said, like, I'm going to make a thing, I'm going to learn how to do it. Nobody is, I'm not going to anybody. Nobody is teaching me how to
mm,
do this.
mhm,
I'm just going to write an audio drama based on something I heard in Fallout 3. Um,
mm,
so like the uh uh the adventures of Herbert Daring Dashwood and his faithful ghoul manservant Argyle
wow.
like sparked my brain and I was like, I'm going to write something like that. So I wrote
Woo.
2 seasons of this space adventure called Lord Dinby,
Mm,
and nobody taught me how to do that. I was just like, I'm
mhm,
just gonna write it, and it's gonna sound right in my head. And if it sounds right in my head, then I know that it's going okay.
mm,
Um, and that's the thing that's maybe my old white man grumpy piece of me is like all these people who are like, it's everything's geek. I'm like, just go do it. Just go do it.
yeah,
The
yeah,
software is free, microphones are
yeah,
relatively cheap. Just
mhm,
type it out and make it.
mm,
So, but the most amazing thing, and the whole point of that is that
mm,
when you write a character and then you audition people, because again, I all of a sudden I'm just auditioning people and I have no
Yeah.
idea
You're
what I'm
like yeah.
doing, right? I'm writing fake scripts for people because I don't
Yes.
want the real scripts getting out there as if anybody cares.
Mhm, mhm.
And so
No,
I'm
I get that.
listening to people audition, and then when I find these people who I think are fantastic, all
Mhm.
of a sudden they're reading a character I wrote, and the character is
Mm.
now alive, and
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, wow. And that experience is so fascinating because it's co-creating in a
Mm.
way
Mhm.
that you don't usually think about people co-creating, right? You see musicians sit down together and play. You
Right.
see, people sit together and write a song.
Mm.
Um, and sometimes, well, I'll save that thought for a second. But you
Yeah.
don't really think about the creation of art as this thing where one person does a job and then another person does a job
Yeah.
and they make a thing together.
Yeah.
And I think it's really gratifying when I hear something,
Mm.
when I hear you do Alex, and I go, okay, well, that's sometimes you get this little spark in your brain that goes, that's
Mm.
exactly how I thought of it. And
Nice.
sometimes you get the other spark that goes, I didn't think about it doing
Didn't
that
think
way at
about it.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Totally, totally.
And both of those are very, very cool.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Okay, so here's the question that I'm always kind of wanting to get at with artists,
Mm.
and this pops into my head. So,
Mm.
have you seen the Beatles documentary where they're creating the album? I think it's Get Back. They released it a couple of years ago on Disney.
Mm. I
Uh,
have not, but weirdly enough, I feel like someone was talking to me about this recently, actually.
so I think it's Get Back,
Mm.
and it's yes, it was shot during the yes, yeah. So Peter Jackson was involved in like totally
Oh,
restoring this thing, but it was all
interesting.
shot during the time where while they were making the album Let It Be.
Okay.
They break up during this thing. Like George
Right.
Harrison just leaves the band.
Mm.
And then they
Mhm.
have to get him back. And it all concludes with a rooftop performance, like the rooftop
Mm.
concert, very famous
Mhm.
Beatles moment. But there's this moment in the documentary where Paul McCartney is just sitting there with a guitar and he's just strumming, he's just messing around.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden this lick comes out. And it's you start listening to it and then you just hear him go hana 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 and you're like, wait, is he just inventing the song Get Back? Are we
Right.
watching him just
Yeah.
pull this out of the ether?
Crazy. Mhm.
And you watch him almost create the whole song right there, and then Ringo starts just playing along on the drums,
Uh-huh.
and George starts playing some bass, and you just watch artists
Woo.
pull art out of the air,
Yeah.
and it's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Um, so my question is, when you create, when you write a
Mm.
song, when
Mhm.
you voice a character, when you act, what do you think is happening? Like,
Hmm.
what is
Oh
happening
my
when
god.
art gets made?
Oh my god, oh my god, that's such a Um, this this question reminds me of a question I asked someone recently where I cuz I don't know. I
Uh-huh.
genuinely don't have an answer. I was thinking about specifically, I'm gonna reference Headhum again.
Uh-huh.
There's a song that we made called Tunnel Vision, and there's a bit at the end where I have no idea where this idea came from.
Mhm.
It's that thing that you said where I just like heard it in my head and I was like, oh yeah, that's the way that that should go, and it's just like stacking different vocal parts together to like come and harmonize
Uh-huh.
that start at different times. I have no idea where that came from. I have no idea what sparked the idea, and I don't know if I would ever have that idea again.
Right.
Um, and so if I don't know, when I'm creating, I think it's different for acting and singing. I do know that. I
Right.
feel like when I'm acting, a lot of it is very hmm it's because I'm memorizing like a monologue or something.
Right.
A lot of it is in that's within the limitations, right? I feel like when
Mm,
I
mhm.
act, the art comes from the limitation because I'm pulling from a source material maybe.
Right.
But in terms of music, it's yeah, it's that thing that you were describing earlier where you just hear something and you think that's correct, and you try, it's trial and error, and then eventually, it could be right there and you
Uh-huh.
can live with that for a couple of days or
Right.
months or years even, and then one day you'll revisit it and you'll sing something else or you'll play a different note at that time, and it just works and it happens, and it is magic. I don't even know. I really have no answer except that it's just magic, and I'm sure it's natural. It comes naturally to people that are creative, right? Like you have these moments where it clicks for you and it just happens. I will say I do think, people can be trained and
Right.
have have an eye or an ear for that and know exactly, like, methodically how things can piece together. But when it's just when it's just like off the dome and you're jamming with your friends, like that moment in the documentary, you really, it's like, honestly, I'm sure it's like a moment where you're just like, you feel like you're on crack because it's like, what the fuck just happened?
This is why I think when you, like, look at the ancients, they think it's divine, right? That
Mm,
that
yeah,
there is something
yeah.
divine about the artistic. So, do you know
Mm,
I'm gonna reference the Beatles again,
mhm,
and I wanna try to actually, I'm not doing this intentionally, but I
yeah.
asked Michaela the same question, and I
Mhm,
referenced totally different artists. So I wanna
okay.
see if I can add my knowledge deep enough as I go, that I
Yeah.
could kind of reference different things. But
Mhm,
do you know the Beatles song "Across the Universe"?
yeah.
So the lyrics to that are, "Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They
Mhm,
slither wildly as they slip away across the universe."
mhm,
And John Lennon could not sleep. The words just started going into his head, and he
mm,
couldn't sleep until he put them all down. And I was like, I
mm.
know that experience. I know the experience. But what I love about that song is it's about that experience.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about the fact that there's this bigger thing happening to you,
Mm,
and you can try to ignore it,
mhm,
or you can submit to it, right? Like, you can
mhm,
sort of say, like, okay, cool, I'll do the thing you want me to do. I'll make the thing you want
mm,
me to make. I'll put the
yeah.
idea down. Um, because it shows up and it sort of demands attention.
Right, right.
And I think part of creating art is the hard work, right? Like,
Mm,
it's the being willing to sit down and rewrite the same thing a fifth time, a sixth
yes.
time.
Yeah.
Like, being willing to say, like, oh well, I really like that, but it doesn't belong here, right?
Hmm, mhm.
Like, it's
Editing is hard.
editing is
Yeah.
really hard. It's
Mhm,
the hard work of, like, going through just Lightning Falls. The things that I was raised by an English teacher, but the things I learned about grammar going
mhm.
through Lightning Falls, and
Yeah.
punctuation, and things that, in my mid 40s, I just don't, I guess upper 40s now, don't know
Right, right.
until, I'm kind of forced to. Um
Mm,
it's all those technical things, but it's also, I think, being willing to be not in control.
uh-huh.
Right, and just sort
Yeah.
of submit. So there's a technical piece to it, and then
Mhm.
there's the, I don't know, the spiritual, or
The
the
right.
woo-woo part of it.
Magic, yeah.
Yeah.
I was, well, and so I reflect upon this a lot because, as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't really doing a lot of creativity from myself like last year.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about how exactly what you said, there's obviously the inspiration part of it where you just like know or feel or get inspired about a song or a word or da 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 da. But then there is the part where you have to make yourself sit down and write it down and have, I mentioned it earlier, like discipline, because if
Right,
you don't have the discipline to sit and make yourself write in your journal or like, listen to the thing or exercise that muscle, like it'll get soft.
right.
Creativity is a muscle, and I think I think for a lot of my life, I banked on it being there
Ah,
forever because
uh-huh,
I was
uh-huh.
always surrounded by art. I was always being, you know, part of things and exercising that muscle. And last year, having just done our projects and nothing else where I was in a room full of people doing it with other
Right.
people, I definitely feel like I've lost a little bit of that where I'm a little shy now, like if Joe and
Mhm.
I go into a room and we're like jamming, I'm a little shy. The inspiration is still there, but the ability to like communicate my ideas
Right.
or properly facilitate whatever I'm trying to hum or like put down on paper, it's gotten a little bit harder. So it definitely takes a lot of uh I don't even want to say technical ability. I just think that you just have to make yourself do it. Like you said, you just have to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really, it's this really interesting thing that I've always been a person in search of a creative community. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I found that, like, I would always, not always, but I would say since, my master's degree, so my late 20s, I was
Mhm.
always trying to create a creative community around myself, and to greater or lesser degrees of success.
Mhm.
And I was telling my wife the other day that, like, kind of my big regret in life, or my great sadness, is that I don't exist in a community of creative people. Like, I know a
Mhm.
lot of creative people,
Mhm.
but everybody is doing their own things, and I imagine, like,
Mhm.
dream sort of future is existing in some sort of community of creative people.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not my reality. My reality is a
Mhm.
very solitary
Mhm.
project.
Mhm.
And I it's so fascinating to me, the idea of, like, so my wife's creative, she is also a theater person,
Mhm.
and even though a lot of that has had to kind of go by the wayside because of just the world of life.
Life.
um but, like, I find it really fascinating, the idea of, like, living with somebody that you're creating things with.
Mm. Mhm.
Is that, as kind of a, maybe, like, an engine for making sure that it doesn't disappear?
Hmm. That's I okay. Yeah. That sorry, my brain just went like 5,000 miles an hour and I couldn't catch up. Um I'm so grateful that Joe is also a creative. I do agree that it feeds that. I think I I speaking for myself, there was a point in time where I was shy to share work even though we are in the same space
Uh-huh.
because I feel like maybe we might be similar in this way where I don't like sharing things that are unfinished,
Right.
right? Like
Yes. Right.
I get really self-conscious about it and I want to give you something that's like in a nice package, you know? And obviously that had to take a step aside when we were doing Head Hum in during quarantine because we were here all together
Right.
all the time. Um but it definitely helps me because I know he wants to play music, right? And maybe I'm not feeling it that day,
Right.
but I know that he's like always not that he's like pushing me to do it, but I know that he's waiting for me to like kind of
Mm.
join in on
Mhm. Mhm.
that momentum.
Right.
So it is really helpful. Obviously we have our day job, so it's not like we're
Right.
constantly
You're not just
constantly
waking
making
up,
music.
just
I wish
throwing a
we were.
robe on
Yeah.
and throwing
I
on the
wish we
music, yeah.
were. That would be the one thing I would say about quarantine was that that's all we did. It's all
Mhm.
we did. We woke up, we had breakfast, we would sit and we would make music and that was it. So in a perfect world that would be exactly what we would do right now, but um like as you said, life be lifing. So
Yeah.
mm,
You said something there that I think is really fascinating,
mm,
and I don't know when it changed for me, but
mm,
you said, like, we're similar in that we want to give people finished products. I
mm,
wasn't always that way, right?
really.
Like, I'd say at some point, I don't know, maybe my 20s, late
Mm.
20s, I was the kind of person who was like, "Look, I started this thing. Look at this thing I started."
Ah,
like
Yeah.
isn't it cool?
Yeah.
And at some point, I got into the mindset that there are really kind of two people who make art. There's the person
Mm,
who wants to show you it before it's done,
yeah.
right? And then the person who will begrudgingly show it to you because it
Yeah.
has to be done,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I know exactly.
right? Because you're like, all right, look, I literally there are other things to do. This thing
Yeah.
has to be done. There's a
Mhm.
deadline. I need to get it out.
Right,
So
right.
yes, this is now the novel. This is now the album.
Mhm.
Um, but like I was editing a novel. That's not really true. I was sort of story editing. I got hired
Okay.
by a friend to do world creation.
Mm.
And part of the reason why it fell apart was he did not hire me because I'm a writer. He hired me because I was his friend and I like that kind of thing. And I was like,
And
"Oh,
you like that kind of thing.
I'm like, man,
Sure.
it's insulting." Like just um
Yeah, yeah,
uh
interesting.
but part of the reason it fell apart was just that, and part of the reason it fell apart was he had this mentality that the story would change all the time. Like the story
Mm,
would change a lot, and he
mm,
had a very sort of like, "Look how cool this is. Look, I've added this thing. Look how cool it is."
yeah.
And from my perspective, I'm like, no. Like you don't know if a thing is cool until you've made the whole thing, and then you know
Right.
whether or not it fits in. Like maybe it's a cool scene,
Mm,
but
mhm.
like, is it cool in the whole story? Is the whole story
Right.
cool? We don't know yet because we haven't finished the thing.
Mhm, mhm.
And I felt like at that point I was like, yeah, there's a real divide, I think, when people
Mm,
create, is that people come up with cool ideas and they get excited about the cool idea. Um, and they want to share that cool idea.
mm.
And then there's like the rest of us who were just like, I don't know. This is
Yeah.
probably okay. But I guess
Yeah.
you can look at it now. I've
Uh-huh.
worked on it for 2 years, like,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
and I mean, so you think you definitely fall in that second group?
I think I do. I mean, I wish I didn't, and I'll say I credit one of my girlfriends who also who recently just started writing and performing music. Um she she is the opposite of me in that she will make a demo. She'll like, chart out like chords, write the lyrics, and then just like strum it on guitar and then bring it into the practice room for her band and be like, this is what I made. Da da da. And then just like build it together
Oh,
there.
sure.
And I don't know why, but that's terrifying to me.
Uh-huh.
I always I don't know. I'm sure in like somewhere in the depths of me, I think maybe people are judging me and maybe
Mhm.
that's why I get conscious about it, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna bring it to them anyway because
Right.
that is the band, right? Like they're
Right.
gonna play the
Right.
music. So why am I being self-conscious about bringing the idea that of course we're gonna build together anyway? So
Right.
I do think I'm in that second group. I'm working on it because I think that's what's been holding me back from just writing and
Mm.
showing people. Um, I think it's easier with music because it is, you're writing the novel and then for us we're going to the into the room to jam with people.
Mhm.
So ultimately I will be playing it for people anyway. So I'm working on being more open about not having things perfect, this
Right.
the first time. I used to hate the idea of rehearsing because I'm like, oh, we're just gonna do it once and it's gonna be great. Even though I went to school for and
Right.
rehearsed forever and ever and ever. Um, but I'm trying to get away from that idea of just like, it's gonna take several iterations. It doesn't mean it's a bad song, doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means that you're working on it and the inspiration or the aha moment hasn't struck yet. That's all.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, like, the idea of work collaborating on a novel, or even me bringing a
Mm.
novel into a writing group. I hate the idea of writing groups.
Yeah.
My mother, who is a writer, she's an award-winning poet. She's been
Mm,
working on a kids novel though for years,
mm.
um, and she takes it to so many groups. And the idea of going into a group and asking other people how my novel should be,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, please just fuck off. Like,
Yes,
please just
I know.
kindly and gently fuck off. Like I
It's not you, it's me. Yeah.
right. It's but the idea of like working on I've had this idea for a while and I'm not going to
Mm,
like again like keeping the idea back. but I've had
Mhm.
this idea for a while about a script for all of us to do together as a kind of War of the Worlds type thing, where it's sort of
Ooh.
live broadcast, read live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but I like the idea of going through that as a
Mhm.
collaborative process, right?
Yes.
Like
Right.
I kind of have the story, I know the beats, I know the characters, but
Mhm.
let's make, and that's the thing that like is collaborative to me when we write
Mhm.
these things is that I always want to know from the performers what they want
Mhm.
to put into the characters.
Mm.
So I think at some point I probably asked you, is there something you never get to play?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure that we really
Mhm.
had anything for
Mhm.
Alex.
Huh.
Um, but
Interesting.
I do like, unless there's a very specific character,
Mhm.
like I want to know from performers what they want to
Mhm.
bring to it. So I like that. But yeah, if it's like a novel, I'm like, look,
Right. Right.
I don't care that you've sold 100 million books.
You
You
don't.
don't know
Yeah.
Weeping Cedars.
Right.
This is not for
Right.
mass consumption. This is for weirdos like me who like this and who
Brilliant.
are
Brilliant
now
weirdos.
right listening to a podcast about a podcast. So um
Just at
um
Weeping Cedars.
yeah. Cool. So, I will always ask this, though how many people I actually have on the show who have done interviews before is
Mhm.
always going to be questionable to me. Is there a question you never get asked that you wish you got asked more? Either about your creativity, about your art, about your career, about you.
Hmm. Um. Um. I don't know. I don't wanna talk about myself. Ugh. Um, I
It's
don't know. I
awkward
guess I
because
don't.
people who don't know you don't realize that you're like 8 feet tall, and
Yeah, I tower over everyone,
yeah.
actually. It's a very little known
So
fact.
what is it like to
Um,
be so tall?
except, door frames. Um, I don't know. I feel like whenever people ask me questions, I feel like I'm an open book, but maybe
Uh-huh.
I'm not, you know? Um, a question that I think that I would love to be asked more is, what's my favorite karaoke song right now?
What is your favorite karaoke song right now? Because I missed you doing karaoke when we hung out. I
I'm
had to
so
go
sad
home.
that you missed it. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That was yeah. I guess we just have to come back and do it again.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, I really like reading. Okay, guys, I really love karaoke. I'm not even gonna
Mhm.
lie. I definitely am Filipina, and I do love karaoke. Um, it's such a fun like group thing, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know if maybe I've mentioned this to you like privately, but I go to karaoke bars in New York like by myself because I like.
Oh, I did not know that.
I think it's fun and because karaoke, especially in like a bar setting, right?
Uh-huh.
People are just like into it, and nothing is people don't. It's the shyness, right? Like when people go to karaoke, um, you can't be shy. And
Mhm,
so I
mhm.
like going to karaoke bars by myself because I like watching people like sing and have fun. I also like the camaraderie that it facilitates. Um,
Did you ever see the movie
recently,
Duets?
no
It is a movie
duets.
about karaoke. It has Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, in it,
Huh.
and some other
Sang it?
famous people. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And
Ah.
Huey Lewis is in that movie. He's such a scumbag. He is a karaoke hustler. So he will go into karaoke bar. God, I
Wait.
haven't seen this movie in 20 years,
Yeah.
I think. He goes into karaoke bars. He's like, "What is this? Karaoke? Like whatever. I'll bet you 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks or whatever that
Yeah.
I can get up there and do a better job
And
than
do it.
you."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then somebody goes up and sings, and then he's fucking Huey Lewis. So he like gets
Yeah.
up and he like
Kills it. Yeah.
blows it away. Um but yeah, that's l- weird fact. So he's like Gwyneth Paltrow's dad, I think, in that. Like they're estranged.
Oh, okay.
And the
Uh-huh.
original script, I used to buy DVDs like crazy.
Yeah.
There's a real big period in my life where I went to the movies every damn week and I bought DVDs like
Awesome.
crazy.
Nice.
Um and I listened to the commentary for Duets. and I
Yeah.
very specifically remember that the original script, it was so dark that I think it's Gwyneth Paltrow and Huey Lewis, estranged father and daughter, and her
Uh-huh.
entire goal in that movie is to fuck him. And in the original script, she succeeds. And like
Oh, no!
and like the guy was like, "Yeah, they told me that was probably not a good."
Oh my well, I promise I'm not going up into karaoke bars and looking for
just
my
just
estranged father.
hustling. Oh, I figured you were much more likely to hustle than to go look for your
Oh
estranged
my
father.
I actually love no, it's I'm like the person in the corner who like
Uh-huh.
watches and then I put my song in and I'm like, "Hell yeah, everybody sing along with
So
me."
maybe try hustling. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe I should. That's
be like,
a great idea. The people of New York City hate you now
yeah.
because they know because I know this now.
The only time I've done karaoke was actually in the packing district in a bar
Really?
at somebody's like we did like a bar hopping bachelor party
Mhm.
a number of years back, and we ended up in this bar in the packing
Amazing.
district, and we did
Yeah.
like open bar karaoke, not your
Yes,
like
yeah.
private room karaoke.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at. So if anyone is ever out, if you think that's me, it's probably me.
You said
um,
something else there though. Is that so?
yeah.
I know like Japanese karaoke is very like
Mhm,
that's a very sort of standard thing. Is
mhm.
Filipino
Oh
karaoke a big
yeah.
thing?
Oh my god. Oh, Josh.
No, I
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
There
culturally ignorant.
there are so many videos circulating online where it's like them in their like shorts and flip-flops in the backyard with just a mic and like
Okay.
the karaoke track just
Okay.
like belting Celine Dion or like I don't even just like crazy runs. It's just yeah, everyone is just having a good time and it's not like they're showing each other up, which is
Right.
my
Sure.
favorite. It's like
Sure.
they're just all enjoying each other's voices. But yeah, and it's a big thing in of Filipino culture. It's just like, oh yeah, we're going to our aunt's house and it's gonna be barbecue and
Oh, fascinating.
karaoke. Yeah.
Fascinating. I think my other than at that bar, the
Mm.
most karaoke I've done is in the Yakuza video games.
Oh my god.
It's just like you have this
I
really like big tough guy Yakuza who
yeah.
goes in and does these like real ballads, like just
Love that.
um
Love that.
yeah, I love those games so much.
I only ever think of them because you've recommended them to me, and
God, they're so
I
good.
haven't played them, but I always go, Josh loves Yakuza
They've
games."
remade them now enough that they're really
Uh,
accessible. Like the old ones were
okay.
really like, hey, they made these in the early 2000s and they're kind of
Uh,
like difficult to play, but
yeah.
they've remastered and remade
Oh,
them
nice.
top down like or from the bottom up, I guess.
Mm,
Um in such a way that if you have like Xbox Game Pass or like
mm,
stuff like that, they're really easy to play and they are
okay.
hilarious.
Mm.
But okay, so we have gone over an hour now.
Woohoo!
Is there anything you would like to say to the people who have listened to Wrought of Amber, who listen to Shards of Amber, that you think they might like to know about the process of creation? What an abusive director I am. The things you had to put up with. Anything that you think
No.
might be interesting for them to know from a production side.
From a production side, no, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, the fact that I didn't read like, I did
Right.
season 1, I read season 1, I did season 2, I read season 2. I didn't read everything at the same time and I really enjoyed that because I was also going on the ride with everybody. And then when the episodes came out, I also didn't know I didn't hear Ashton's
Right.
performance or Michaela's performance. So it was cool for me to like be in the booth and work it out with you and constantly like go, I'm so sorry for all the thing like
All
all
the
that was
yeah.
happening. And then to have it come out and also enjoy listening to it because you even though you hate editing, Josh,
Mhm.
you great at it. You pick great music. Like you've got
Oh,
some
thank you
good.
very much.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a fun on the production side of things. I had it easy. I don't know. It was a great time. I you as a director, I will say it was very easy to work with. I mean, obviously, like, okay, we were collaborating on bringing
Right.
Alex together, um, and uh, and I feel like I dragged my feet on some things, and you were very gracious about being like, yeah, whenever you can, you got it, Renee. You're a very good cheerleader. Um, yeah, I would definitely I that was the first voice acting project that I had done. Like, you gave me the opportunity to explore voice acting, so thank you for that.
You did such a fantastic job, and, like,
Thank you.
especially when I think of the last episode, and, and, like, the asking you to be like, "Okay, now you're gonna have to run around and scream in your apartment
Yeah.
in in New York City." Um
Yeah, that was pretty fun. That was a fun day. I had told Joe that he had to be out of the house. It was like bright daylight. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure my neighbors were home, and I had my phone on me and was like mapping out how to go
Mhm.
about the room so that I would hit everything, but also like make it would make sense where I was moving or how I was moving.
Okay, uh-huh.
Um, so for that last episode, I that was the one I mapped it out. I made, like, noise, like, sound effects so
Right,
that I can know where things are in the moment. Um, and then well, no, I'm happy to report that no one knocked on my door after I
right.
screamed.
Well, maybe
No,
you should be happy about
I
that,
did
maybe
not
you shouldn't be happy about that, like, that's just like
maybe nobody pays attention to me, it's okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
just really, really fantastic. And then
Thank you.
the changeover, because it's a different thing to do an audiobook than it is to
Mhm.
do. But I really have to shout out, and I was mentioning to um our mutual friend, who I'm trying to think about how you would have first met him, but Ben, who I created
Mm.
All Ports Open with, and then
Mhm.
also our friend Blaine, um, who you've played games with us on
Yes.
stream. But he was going through Come On. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Have you gotten to the song yet?" Because he's both reading and listening to it at the same time.
I see. Okay.
And I was explaining some of the changes we had to make about the
Yeah.
song, which I haven't talked about publicly. But
Yeah.
there was some wording in there I
Mhm.
didn't catch the first time
Right,
that I
right.
wrote it, and I was like, "Ooh, that's not good. This is
Yeah,
dark, but
right.
it's not that dark." Um, but if people have not listened to the audiobook version of it, you do a wonderful rendition of
Oh,
that song. It
thanks.
is just unashamedly, like,
Yeah.
just full force, and
It was
I
fun, it
love
was
that.
fun. Yay. I'm so glad, I'm so happy that you were yeah, like, ultimately, I'm happy that you're happy with it, but I did have fun with that, and I did sing it for a little bit afterwards. It was just stuck in my head, you know?
Perfect, perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this. It's also just great to catch up.
Yes, oh my gosh, miss you, thank you for having me, seriously.
We should definitely do things more often.
Yes, yes, please.
With that, here's a question, and we'll close on this. Do you
Mhm.
have any projects right now that people should go check out, whether they're brand new or something you've done in the past that people can check out?
Right now I'm in my creative process of writing.
Right.
So, Headhum will definitely be back. We're probably hopefully going to be playing shows at the end of the summer.
Nice.
We're going to get a live recording of the songs that we already have up on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So if you haven't checked out Headhum, please go ahead and feel free and hear my voice in a different medium.
Yeah. In a totally new one.
Mhm.
And with that, we will close. Thank you, Renee Vito, for doing this interview.
Yay! Thank you for having me, Josh.
And I'm back. Thank you again so much to Renee for sitting down and talking to me for an hour. I really, really appreciate it. It's been really cool being able to talk to people from the shows. If all goes well, next interview, I will be talking to the amazing Shannon Spangler, who shows up in Weeping Cedars like once for a couple of minutes at the end of an episode. But I love Shannon. I've worked with her longer than almost anybody. We haven't done like a ton of projects together, but she was on my first audio drama, and she was done some actual plays with me and live streams. And Shannon's just absolutely fantastic. She's and we've actually worked for the same company for separately. Which again, very strange, like a Hollywood. This is a bit of me lore, which you wouldn't be able to know because they never credited me properly. But I did some audio editing for a podcast for a Hollywood film festival that Shannon also has done stuff for. So yeah, there's a lot of background there, and I can't wait to sit down and talk to her. I promise we'll get some dudes on now and then. I have Armando McLean and I are going to be sitting down together as soon as we find the time, and also I have Lou DePilla has agreed to be on. So yeah, it's just a matter of scheduling at this point. And there are also some really awesome other people who I don't want to announce just yet because they're a little bit further down the road, and hopefully we'll be able to get them on too. But some of your favorites are in the mix. Okay, so before I wrap up, I do want to talk about The Testament of Anne Lee, directed by Mona Fastvold and starring Amanda Seyfried. We watched it last night. You can watch it on Hulu if you have Hulu. I was shocked that it came out directly to Hulu. I wish it had come out in the theaters. Maybe it did and I missed it, but it just sort of appeared. This is the history. This is a representation of the history of Anne Lee, the founder of the Shakers, which isn't entirely true. The Shaking Quakers were a movement kind of before her, and then she was a major influence in the early years. The Shakers still exist in a very, very, very tiny community, as far as I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but the research that I did said, there's less than half a dozen Shakers left. The thing that's fascinating to me about this movie, first, visually, it's a visually stunning movie. I love the way that it looks. Amanda Seyfried does a fantastic job. It's framed immaculately. It's shot immaculately. Any one frame could be a representation of like a medieval, not medieval, but like a later Renaissance painting. There's a lot of darks and lights and beautiful contrast and the way everything is framed. It's a beautiful movie. The dancing in it is fantastic. The sort of modern dance choreography that they did for the Shakers is absolutely beautiful. I don't think it really bears any resemblance to what Shakers actually do. But it's a beautiful thing, and I found myself at moments in the movie being really moved by the representations of faith, the representations of fortitude, of hope, I guess. But also a lot of things are very disturbing in the movie. I think any religious figure who sort of just draws to themselves people and says, "I have a new revelation," is always has to kind of put somebody on the defensive, and should put people on the defensive, because it's very hard to verify that kind of thing. And so I think you get some very interesting contrasts of things, the sort of conflict between the natural and the supernatural, or the claims to the supernatural. I did find the first half of the movie maybe much more disjointed than the second half. They try to get through a lot of time very quickly, and move you eventually to America. And yeah, I mean, there's some really disturbing things in it. There's conflict. I think I would have preferred the time span to be more sort of constricted, maybe some history given at the beginning, but it did feel a little bit like, hey, we're going to tell you the whole story as best we can, instead of focusing on some particular moments or themes. So yeah, but I think what's really interesting for Weeping Cedars is, and not to like talk about this as if my thing's important. It isn't. But that's what this podcast is about. So I think it's really fascinating that you have this movement, this time period in Europe, uh, England, America, where in the 18th and 19th centuries, you just have all of these new religious expressions popping up, just kind of coming out of nowhere. It's in the air. Like I talk about the 1960s as this time when there was like this spirit of art over the English speaking world. I can't say that it wasn't anywhere else. The English speaking world is what I know about this particular moment. And you get this particularly wonderful expression of art and music. You get films starting to change, uh, expressions of culture and peace and love, and all these things are mixing together to create a fantastic art that we haven't really seen anything like that since then. But over these like 2 centuries, there's this kind of spirit of novelty and innovation with the spiritual, from Swedenborg through Joseph Smith to Anne Lee to all the way up to like the Azusa Street revival that brings about the Pentecostals in the early 20th century. Like you have this pretty fascinating abundance of different expressions. We live relatively near a community that was kind of happening at the same time as the Shakers, and they were called the Seventh Day Dunkers. And they had similar things to the Shakers, where like even married couples weren't supposed to have sex. But I feel like the Seventh Day Dunkers, if that's really what they're called, it's called the Ephrata Cloister. If you're in Pennsylvania, going to the Ephrata Cloister is really fascinating. Um, but they've dug up a glass trumpet that was in there that they don't really know the use of. In my mind, they're an apocalyptic group. That glass trumpet my guess, my professional opinion would be that glass trumpet was meant to be blown on the final day, on the appearing of Jesus, right? Like that's part of their theology. We don't know that though. We just found a glass trumpet buried in it that you couldn't use. So they're all really fascinating. This time period is really fascinating to me, and so kind of seeing it played out, seeing the reactions of people to uh to the Shakers, I think it would have been maybe more interesting to see a little bit more of that. Some of that's really terrifying. But yeah, if you're interested in that time period, if you're interested in the expression of that sort of new, this sort of abundance of new expressions of spirituality that have shaped where we are today, the Testament of Anne Lee is a really interesting exploration in it. It obviously doesn't really go into the exploration of like their effects on America, because they may not really have a lot of effects on America. There's a lot of really good furniture that came out of the Shakers. Um, but like, it's not like the Quakers. The Quakers have just a massive influence on early American history, the founding of America, abolition, all of the sort of big movements of early America. The Quakers have a hand on that lever. It's not so much with the Shakers. So yeah, if you're interested in that time period, if you're interested in sort of part of the vibe of where like the pride comes from and some of the inspirations, not directly the Shakers, but like some of the air of the world that inspired people like Lionel Quincy in Weeping Cedars, then yeah, I might check that out. So that is going to do it for this episode. So again, next episode, we have a Q&A episode. If you have questions, please send them in. I have a couple already. It would be great to get a few more. And I'll also give you an update on Drowned and its associated projects. And we'll see what that looks like. And yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Thank you again to Reneé, and I will be back in 2 weeks. So until then, good night, faithful friends.